My thoughts on Sword Art Online are, well, pretty basic, pretty much about the meaning of the world. There's a hell of a lot of plot holes and nerve gear and so on. And I kind of like that because it's a mystery, and because it is a mystery and people are taking their time with building up that mystery, it's still suspenseful. Now, I know, a lot of people are very critical about the game, the world, and the things and so on, and, I completely agree that the redhead needs more time, needs more screen time, needs to work more. I kind of like that they gave her something to do in Season 2, befriending that wheelchair girl, and also making the the hospitalized girl, someone who got hurt because of AIDS. That's a thing. That's very interesting. So, here's my idea. The nerve gear is supposed to simultaneously learn from the players and evolve while limiting what the human brain can do and setting up a very limited MMO. Now, we've all noticed how MMOs tend to have all kinds of classes, all kinds of druids, reptile people, whatever, in the same group, but in Sword Art Online, you just happen to have the same types of outfits, so on and so forth. That's very limiting. But I think that's intentional. The main protagonist is someone who suffered tragedy and a traumatic event in the game itself. Because the nerve gear limits the human mind, what the human brain can do interacting with the human body, and basically gives us a very limited world, it's likely that the nerve gear needs that limitation so as to better interact with the human brain. In real life, when people have brain mapping gear on, you need time to develop an idea inside the programming. You need to think about move this up, move this down, move this right, move this left, and so on. Because this is a game set in the near future, it would stand to reason that there's some sort of algorithm modeled after a heuristic of things that people are used to doing in games. A lot of people think, move left, the brain does this, so move left. Because people are having their brains manipulated while they are playing the game itself, their bodies are kind of disconnected with the brain, so the brain must be emitting some sort of chemical stuff, numbing the body, or whatever. The thing is, the human brain isn't just electrical, it's electrical and biochemical. It's chemical and electrical. It's mostly chemical because the neurons create chemical reactions which leads to the shock that connects to other neurons and leads to other chemical reactions and so on. Because the human brain is chemical and not just electrical, we can't just avatar a program into the human brain. We have to interact with it, manipulate this part, manipulate that part, so on and so forth. So, clearly, the nerve gear manipulating the human brain into not interacting with the real world, the heuristics that would be used to create a model of the human mind, so on and so forth, they would have had to have been taken either from a limited group of people who were in such a state where their bodies were disconnected with the real world, or they're imperfect models of what people know based on brains that interact with the real world. So, clearly, it stands to reason that the nerve gear, by imposing all those limitations on the human brain and the human environment, because the human environment is more real-world based, more limited to the familiar, because it's learning things that are abnormal would be very significant to the nerve gear research, whatever. So, from the top, the nerve gear is supposed to simultaneously learn from the player and evolve while limiting what the human brain can do and setting up a very limited MMO world. The main protagonist is someone who suffered tragedy, a traumatic event in the game, and survived. The girlfriend is also pretty interesting while the main protagonist seems to break away from the game world's parameters. And at the same time, the double sword thing seems to be a part of an experiment. People experiment with players all the time, tweaking this, tweaking that, and research in mental experiments. People obviously need to introduce things to the environment of the person that they're analyzing, so obviously it's some kind of experiment. It seems likely that the scientist dude who created the world probably set up all kinds of experiments which likely ended up either in a disaster or being missed by someone or being hidden by the government. This is a very, very, very interesting point, because wouldn't it be likely that the scientist might be trying to manipulate the environment of the players, both within the world and outside the world, so as to tilt the player's behavior in the world?